Chris. Hold on. There is an alert. There's some sort of alert. Heads up with all of this. Hold on. Breaking news. Homefront Command says that in the next few minutes, there are expected to be alerts in certain areas. Not the whole country yet. They said in lowland area and Lashish area and Odan area. So, missiles. Breaking news. IDF says missiles on the way. IDF says Iranian missiles on the way. IDF says Iran has launched missiles.
All right, guys, there you have it. The IDF has just announced that. I'm currently going to grab the top latest news here. We have numerous U.S. officials coming out and saying that the United States will not be joining an assault or a forward conflict with Iran, but they are posturing on a heavy defense right now.
So now this is happening while all this other stuff happens. What is on the screen? What is this black thing? I have something wrong. There it is. Sorry. I am seeing rocket alerts. Tel Aviv rocket alerts. Tel Aviv rocket alerts. Okay, hold on a second, guys. Here we go.
The sirens are blaring.
I am not seeing anything yet. We're hearing sirens. Expect to hear something soon. I don't know which camera things might be on. I'm looking. Okay, sirens off. I haven't seen anything yet. I've been checking 4 cameras. I've been looking at the 4 cameras. I haven't seen anything yet. Still seeing nothing yet.
Last time the sirens ended early and the missiles came a little bit later, so definitely need to keep an eye on the skies right now.
And I have not seen a single thing on 4 cameras. I have one I can't even fit on the screen that I'm looking at. The alerts are not on the on SOFR anymore. Oh, hold on. What's going on? What is happening? I heard a boom. That's something. There's some sort of boom. There's some sort of boom. I don't see it on any of the cameras. Maybe an interception somewhere? Oh, was there there was, okay, somebody said on Modine. Did I miss it on Modine? I will rewind it. Somebody said on Modine there was an interception. They saw it. Modine, Israel. Okay, some people said they saw it on there. I'll have to rewind it and see. But let's just stay with the live, and I can rewind it for you, okay? I did not see it on the Modine cam. This camera right here. So I'll keep. Well, we can rewind it. Do you want me to rewind it right now? Let me rewind the Modine cam for a second. I'm going to rewind. Where was it on the Modine cam? Oopsie, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm rewinding the Modine cam to see where it is. It was a flash? It was just a flash? Did you see anything go up? Because I'm looking at it right now. There was a small flash, people said. It might be tough to find a flash right now. Let me look later. If it's just a flash, it might be tough to find. Because then I have to play the whole thing through.
It might have just been an interception, but there was an explosion.
Let me check for updates too. Just one flash middle left, somebody said. So when I get a chance... Well, I'm going to change the headline because we don't have... As of right now, I don't know of more incoming missiles. So, let me just to do it.
Occupied with people filling out.
Okay, we just had a bunch of cameras switch over to Tel Aviv, so I'm wondering if something is going on there.
But he posted that Tehran should evacuate immediately. Then it was announced that he's suddenly leaving the G7 conference, returning to the White House. Multiple reports that he has asked his national security team to meet with him in the Situation Room tonight, and we have multiple reports from different outlets where U.S. officials have denied that the U.S. is joining Israel to strike Iran. What does this all mean? I don't know. Here is that Truth Social post, though. Right here. This is kind of what started all this off tonight. Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame and waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. And soon after that, it was announced he is heading back to the White House from the G7 conference suddenly because of what's going on in the Middle East. The Tel Aviv camera is live. There's a light blinking on and off on the Tel Aviv camera. You can literally see it right here. The zoom is the camera itself. I don't have control over the zoom.
But isn't it telling how the mayors of these big cities in Los Angeles and Chicago, they are held hostage by the most radical open border zealots in their party. Regardless of the destruction that they do and the cop cars they burn, they are unable to criticize or critique them because the life force of the modern Democrat Party and the globalist project is open borders. Thou shalt have open borders. It is what keeps the Democrat Party together. And I have to just praise President Trump and his team's courageous immigration plan. And President Trump is now calling it remigration. We need more raids, more deportations. It's exactly what the American people voted for.
Right. More raids, more deportation raises wages. And that's what everyone's forgetting. Let's go over to the Middle East. Bernie Sanders, Charlie, just says he's going to introduce a resolution, the No War vs. Iran Act. He says it's going to be an illegal war the president is going to take us into. Some people on the right, they're saying don't forget about Iraq. How are you reconciling these issues?
Well, first, this is the moment that President Trump was elected for. Thank God that we have President Trump in the Oval Office with this high-stakes situation. Look, President Trump 10 years ago, he went down the golden escalator. And when he announced for the presidency 10 years ago to this day, he remade the Republican Party on foreign policy. He said no more permanent wars in the Middle East. He criticized the Bush-Cheney philosophy of endless quagmires. Albeit, though, he is not an isolationist. He is willing to use violent and precise force against our enemies, like taking out Soleimani or dropping the Moab, if and when necessary. President Trump understands his base extraordinarily well. He knows that his base does not want another Iraq. He does not want Libya, does not want a civil war or bedlam where the United States is left carrying the bag. But also President Trump has been morally clear for a decade. Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. And President Trump has the talent, the expertise to be able to thread that needle. The generation that I represent, Jesse, the under 30 crowd, They absolutely are very war weary. Many of them voted for President Trump on college campuses because they did not want to see a Joe Biden or George Bush philosophy where we get into this endless conflict where we're sending hundreds of billions of dollars. I think President Trump will be able to balance those two things while defending our allies, saying that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon without having to deploy a single American troop or even having America involved from the sky. President Trump can get that deal done while fulfilling the mandate that the voters gave him.
Yeah, it's a tightrope he's walking, and so far, so good.
He can do it.
Charlie Kirk, good to talk to you as always. Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like Trump has left the G7 early due to the conflict in the Middle East. Now, we just had word that potentially Iran just sent some missiles over. We're waiting to see if that is true or not. We did hear sirens earlier, but nothing came afterwards. So as I get updates off of Twitter and other feeds, I will let you know.
Oh, hold on. Israel Homefront Command says the event has ended.
These are not all the...
You can leave your shelters. So that is the third. It appears that that was a small attack of some sort. I think that's the third small missile attack of the day. Yeah, the rocket missile firing event has ended. Those staying in the protected area can leave. How about that? Does Iran not have many more missiles? I don't know. The IDF says, after assessing the situation, the Homefront Command issued instructions that it is possible to exit the protected area in all regions of the country. You are asked to continue to obey the Homefront Command's instructions and the instructions that are distributed to you. What is happening tonight? What is happening? I have no idea.
Yeah, what is happening is a very good question because we have breaking major breaking news. CTV News. Chinese embassy in Israel urges citizens to leave. So we just had Trump declare citizens of Tehran to leave, and now the Chinese embassy in Israel urges citizens to leave. On top of that, the major breaking news, Trump to leave the G7 early for important matters. And this is continued with now China. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if Iran is using a new type of missile. I mean, it doesn't seem like there were many of them. I'm just saying they posted it. Troy James thinks it's propaganda. Yeah, I just figured I'd pass it along. The Canadian, according to Al Jazeera, the Canadian Prime Minister said, "I understand Trump's need to leave the G7 summit." What is this?
I got some camera shots here inside of Tehran.
What is going to happen, guys? I have no idea. I have no idea. Oh, somebody said that flight radar shows some planes going that way. Hold on a second here. Hey, for those watching on Facebook, I can't believe it. We're getting close to 8 hours. If you're watching on Facebook, Facebook automatically ends the stream after 8 hours. So for those people watching on Facebook, I will restart a new Facebook stream after Facebook ends the stream. If you're watching on the other platforms, it doesn't matter. But for Facebook people only, I will have to restart your stream soon. Let me check. Okay, here is Flight Radar 24, and this is military planes. That is another refueling tanker. I think around 30 refueling tankers went to Europe yesterday from the U.S. reportedly to help out in the Middle East, to be available to help out in the Middle East. That's another strato tanker there. That's a tanker. That is a tanker there. That is a tanker there. So that's 4. So maybe more are flying there. That's an Air Force plane. Maybe that's always there. I don't know. I mean, some of these planes probably are just flying normally there. That plane is another tanker flying that way. So some of these might be adding to the ones from last night. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Oh, somebody mentioned, well, I don't even know about that one. There might be more. So anyways, one of the viewers said the Pegasus is a tanker. Anyways, the overall point is just there might be some more planes going there. Are we?
Okay, so yeah, we have that Chinese embassy alert in Israel. Chinese embassy in Israel issued an urgent WeChat alert urging Chinese nationals to leave the country immediately via land crossings into Jordan, with Israel airspace closed amid intensifying Iranian hostilities. Civilian areas have suffered increasing damage. China urges citizens to leave Israel amid escalating conflict. So things are getting quite crazy there as we currently speak.
Woodsick, Gooner, BeesRN, Tex-Mex, John Root, LOL Cake, Neb, Mr. Prince of Paradise, M&R, Charlie B, PZ Papa Zulu, Dana, Mick White, Jessica Dubois, Anthony Cruz, Being the December, Robin Hutter, Solid Pixel, Mid-Hudson Security Consultants, Drivers Lounge, David Hoff, Mitchell Pilot, UV Zombie, Valerie Severe, John Root, Charles Dolphin, Actually Dan, JF, Missy, Justin Kiefer, Shannon O'Leary, Jimmy the Hobo, Shadow 6530, Buddy McKinley, JF, Shifting Realities, Wicked Fair, I think I'm caught up, Nightshade, I hope I'm caught up, Cookie Monster, Mark 9, Mindy Nickerson, Willamac. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize. BBG. And over on Twitch, Jay Stubbles, thanks for the gift subs. 70 Tree, Abby Swift, Replica Gaming, thank you for the gift subs. Top Right Moz, Pirate 5151, Moomed, Trent Hazard, Notorious Rob, Big Dog Gaming, Jay Drabble, thank you. All right, let's try to get you some more updates here. Again, the New York Times is reporting that President Trump is weighing whether to help Israel destroy the deeply buried nuclear enrichment facility at Fordo, which only American bunker busters dropped by American B-2 bombers can reach. But I don't know for a fact that that's what's going on here. I mean, President Trump has repeatedly said today that Iran cannot have a bomb. But he also said Tehran should be evacuated. That's what I don't understand. Everybody should evacuate Tehran. I just don't understand.
Who knows what's going on? He probably got a lot going through that mind. And nobody truly knows what his next move is. So, like, look, this is Truth Social right here. So it's, who knows? Who knows what he's actually thinking?
Stated Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. If all that the U.S. was going to do was help Israel knock out Fordo, it doesn't make sense to me that he would say everyone should evacuate Tehran. I just don't understand it. Also, I also don't understand why Lindsey Graham would have posted what he posted. That also doesn't make much sense. Senator Republican Lindsey Graham says no one can say that President Trump has not tried to seek peace regarding Ukraine, Russia, and Israel, Iran. He has gone the extra mile, and I appreciate that. However, you have to be willing partners to make peace. Iran played the same old game with the wrong guy. God bless Israel, God bless the U.S., and God bless President Trump. That doesn't sound like, oh, hey, we're going to help Iran out with this, with Fordo. I mean, are we talking regime change or something? I don't know. Joe Gray thinks Tehran is where the uranium is at.
All right, guys, hold on.
Iran. Now, according to the president, Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame. What a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I have said it over and over and over again. That's called the Trump doctrine. And breaking tonight, President Trump will now leave the G7 summit early and return to the White House to oversee, quote, many important matters. Take a look.
President, why are you leaving the G7 early for Washington?
Well, I have to be back. Very important. I want to just thank our great host. He did a fantastic job. Thank you. In Canada. But you probably see what I see. And I have to be back as soon as I can. We're going to have dinner with these wonderful leaders. And then I get on the plane. I have to be back early for obvious reasons. I loved it. I tell you, I loved it. And I think we got a lot done. Really a lot done. In fact, UK, we signed a big trade deal today, and we're working on others, but we had just a really great relationship with everybody.
No trade deal with Canada. Carney just says, yup. My God, this guy is a total embarrassment.
It's really nice. I wish I could stay for tomorrow, but they understand. This is
there a reason,
big.
Mr. President,
This is big
you
stuff.
can't
For skittish Wall Street markets, that means they signed the trade deal. In case you missed it, there are reports that the president is convening his National Security Council when he arrives tonight. Obviously, there is minute-by-minute analysis of what is going on in the Middle East. This is an ominous warning for the mullahs of Iran, their, quote, supreme leader, who are now growing seemingly desperate. Tonight, after 5 days of debilitating airstrikes from Israel, even the state-run media building was hit while a pro-regime talking heads were actually ranting on air. And now a second U.S. Navy aircraft carrier is rushing to the region along with a massive fleet of
oh my goodness, an aircraft carrier is on its way. Let me just double check that. Let me just double check that. Yeah, we have it here from the Independent and Reuters. Politico. U.S. aircraft carrier heads to the Middle East. Wow. Wow, guys. I think this is an actual picture here from the Independent, so you get an idea there. Ay, ay, ay.
U.S. military aircraft. I have a lot more of my monologue straight ahead, but here with the very latest from Israel tonight is our own Trey Yangst. I don't think you slept 5 hours in the last week, but Trey, we appreciate your coverage. Thank you.
Sean, thank you. It's been another difficult 24 hours for Israel. Just about 30 minutes ago, air raid sirens were sounding across the city of Tel Aviv, sending nearly 1 million people in the metropolitan area into bomb shelters. Last night, 11 people were killed as 65 Iranian ballistic missiles streamed through the skies of Israel, 5 of them impacting the ground below, 1 in the heart of Tel Aviv. We arrived just minutes after the explosion, speaking with survivors.
When the missiles arrived, we were in the staircase in the building, and the shock was like so huge. I never saw even a piece of a rocket, and to see an explosion right in front of my face and my other face, crazy.
A ballistic missile has just slammed into a building in the center of Tel Aviv. Right now, first responders are trying to put out the flames. In the distance, you can see right now there are a variety of paramedics on the scene, police officers and soldiers. And if you come over here, you'll see part of a collapsed building. They don't know if anyone is currently inside, but they are checking right now. Israel is still striking back against Iran overnight, killing at least 1 intel chief and his deputy. The IDF tells Fox News they have taken out 1/3 of the Iranian ballistic missile launchers used to attack Israeli cities. They now have air superiority over the Iranian capital of Tehran. And tonight, a message from President Trump saying very clearly Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, calling on everyone to immediately evacuate Tehran.
And there you have it, guys. Holy crap. We are currently looking over Tel Aviv. I've got a Tehran set of cameras as well. We got cameras here in Jerusalem, Tehran, Tel Aviv, Ashdod, etc., Haifa. So we're keeping eyes out right now for anything.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What is happening? What is happening tonight? What is happening? I just saw something. Hold on. I just saw an update from the U.S. State Department. They say that Secretary of State Rubio spoke today with UK Foreign Secretary Lamy about the ongoing Israel-Iran conflict. During the call, Secretary Rubio and Foreign Secretary Lamy reaffirmed their commitment to staying in close contact and encouraging a diplomatic path that ensures Iran never develops a nuclear weapon. Read into that as you will. A quick summary of what's happening tonight is in the red ticker on your screen.
And I will just briefly read that for you. President Trump is unexpectedly leaving the G7 conference tonight. He just left. He's on his way back or is already back. Rubio is also returning with Trump. They're returning because of what is going on in the Middle East. Trump has posted or tweeted or whatever you want to say, truthed on his Truth Social that everybody in Tehran should evacuate. And we also have word from China telling people in the Chinese embassy within Israel to also evacuate.
So he posted on Truth Social that everyone should evacuate Tehran immediately. That was the end of his post. And then it was announced he was suddenly leaving the G7 summit. It should be not conference, summit. Early, and heading back to the White House. So it seems like to deal with it because of what's happening in the Middle East. So it seems like something's up. Silver Moon says something is up for sure. Oh, so what was this here? AZ Intel found this. CNN posted that President Trump has directed members of his team to attempt a meeting with Iranian officials as quickly as possible, as he works to determine whether Tehran is serious about diplomacy. I mean, I kind of feel like he's been talking like that all along now, saying about wanting them to make a deal. I just don't know why the big rush would be about tonight coming back. Why he could have waited a day and just do the G7 stuff and come back tomorrow. So why is Nancy Mace saying evacuate Tehran? Nancy Mace, who's a Republican representative, she is doubling down.
Okay, so that is very interesting.
I hope
the Iranian people will listen to President Trump's warning. Evacuate Tehran.
The Iranian people will listen to Trump's warning, evacuate Tehran. So this is a city of 10 million people. We have now multiple U.S. officials telling them to evacuate.
That is wild.
The National Security Council be prepared in the Situation Room. after a deadly weekend in the Middle East. In Israel, 24 fatalities, 600 wounded. The death count even higher in Iran, 224 dead and counting. Iran retaliating by firing over 370 missiles at the Jewish state, but Israel's hitting back harder.
My God, dude, some of these shots are just effing insane. I'm going back here briefly.
Overnight, Iranian missiles struck an Israeli oil refinery and a power grid. This morning, a state TV outlet in Tehran was bombed during a live broadcast.
آنچه که ملاحظه کردید، صدایی که شنیدید، فضای غبارآلود استادیوم.
Tel Aviv is claiming full aerial superiority over Iranian airspace. They downed 2 Iranian fighter jets today after top Iranian military officials were taken out Friday.
This drone footage is crazy. Holy shit.
After top Iranian military officials were taken out Friday. Israel says they've already destroyed a third of Iran's missile launchers, and nuclear sites are getting pummeled so badly that residents are being warned of radiation spillage. The IDF is warning that Iran will pay the price, and they've scheduled this campaign to last 2 weeks. Their plan is to degrade the Iranian nuclear program and destroy their ballistic missile stockpiles. The mullahs are getting battered, and they don't have the military capacity to trade endless missile strikes with Israel. They need a breather and are crossing their fingers that we don't provide the bunker busters that could eliminate their nuke sites deep underground. So they're begging Trump to come back to the negotiation table, hoping that the U.S. doesn't get involved militarily and that Netanyahu will take his finger off the trigger. Trump signaling that he'd prefer a deal over death.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah,
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
they'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
Democrats call Trump the taco president, a.k.a. Trump always chickens out. But he gave the Iranians a deadline for a deal, and they missed the deadline. So he let Netanyahu go at him. Now Iran's begging for mercy. And they're not going to get a good of a deal now. The whole world witnessed that. That sends a strong message everywhere, even on trade. Now Iran's lost leverage. They're at their weakest point in decades. Israel's neutralized their proxies, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Assad in Syria. The Iranians don't have much of a navy. Their air force is ancient, and their army's sitting ducks if they cross the border on foot into Iraq. They can't project power. The only thing keeping the Ayatollah alive is his nuclear program, and he's clinging on to it so that he doesn't get Gaddafi'd. You remember Gaddafi gave up his nuclear program, and then Barack, Hillary, and the Europeans killed him anyway. Trump says it's very simple.
I want to see no nuclear weapon in Iran, and we're well on our way to making sure that happens.
America can't let Iran acquire a nuclear weapon, or any other country. Americans can't get blackmailed by rogue states. And stopping the spread of nuclear weapons has been American policy since Oppenheimer made one. Trump originally put Netanyahu on ice and told him not to strike. But NBC reports Trump had a change of heart after the International Atomic Energy Agency said Iran was cheating. 47 didn't want to be the president on whose watch it was able to obtain a nuclear weapon.
And right now, I am looking at alerts. I don't see much. Apparently, I don't have a credible source for that, so I'm not going to repeat that unless a more mainstream. Yeah, I don't have anything on that yet, so potentially in the future I will give you an update, but right now I don't have much. I do have this though.
A monster revolution. That's where I come out with all this.
Well, Israel has showed some restraint. They could take out their entire electric grid, which is gas-driven. All their refineries basically are on one island. I mean, owning the skies, there's nothing the Iranians can do to stop it. And yet the Israelis have not targeted that. Meanwhile, Tel Aviv is under fire, and they're targeting civilians. So you can see two very different thought processes at work here. But now it's a matter of when, not if. They will not have nuclear weapons. Donald Trump is correct.
Agreed.
All right, Aaron Cohn, thank you. Joining us now is South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, you were praising the president for his patience and seeking peace and going back to the table and back to the table. Yeah. You can't say that he didn't try to give them an out, an opportunity, knowing what the eventual outcome was going to be. And, he said, I told them it's a shame, it's a waste of human life, they can't have a nuclear weapon, and everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. How do you interpret that, sir?
Well, I take President at his word. He gave Iran 60 days to do a deal. On the 61st day, we are where we are. There's two ways to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. One is diplomacy, the other is force. I think the headline tonight is we're moving into the land of force.
And that is not a good thing. That is not good at all. I guess only time will tell, though. We have possibly an interesting update here of air traffic.
To be flying, but that's not active tracking. That's estimated track because it's not being actively tracked there. So it's estimated position. I don't know if it's there or not. It could be. Maybe China is flying things to Iran. I haven't seen many planes like that.
Ronald Reagan stood.
It says diverting to. I don't know if that's the case. But once in a while, we have been seeing those the last few days, so I don't know what to make of it. Oh no, it's flying to Turkmenistan. It's not even supposed to be going to Iran. It's supposed to be going to Turkmenistan. So, which is, hold on a second here. Because Ashgabat, it says. Yeah, so Turkmenistan is here. There's Ashgabat right there. Maybe it landed here. I don't know. I'm really confused. It says to Ashgabat here, but this is just an estimated position. This is not actually being tracked. That's estimated position based on the last known position. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Their airspace is closed, so, I don't know what to make of it. I've seen that couple things like that the last couple of days. And then we mentioned on Flight Radar 24, you can see what looks like some more refueling tankers heading out over the Atlantic. Remember, yesterday about 30 went from the U.S. reportedly to Europe to help out in the Middle East, or to be available to help in the Middle East. Certainly, that's something Israel could use on its attacks, U.S. refueling tankers. So I already see 5 of them right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe there are more. flying in that direction, but thank you to Lewis R. Lewis R. Oh, Lewis R. points out, this is a good point by Lewis R. Excellent point by Lewis R. Thanks for making that point, Lewis R. Lewis R. says that he points out that the flight time from the G7 is in Kananaskis, which is about 60 miles from the Calgary airport. So
Kananaskis.
Calgary airport. The flight
Kananaskis
to DC is about a little over 4 hours. So Lewis is pointing out that I don't know if he's on the plane yet. He's supposed to have dinner there, but because it's only 6:20, is it 6:23 p.m. Calgary time? But the point is, it'll take him a while to get back. Maybe he'll meet with maybe he'll meet virtually while on the plane with the people in the Situation Room, though. 7:23 in Calgary right now. But Kananaskis. I don't know how to pronounce it. So, but yes, a fair point that it's a whole flight across the continent once he leaves. But at the same time, he could do work on the plane. Thank you, Dave Long, Katie Williams. Dave, will the U.S. help Iran by letting them use their bunker buster bombs to drop them on the Fordo nuclear complex? I do not know. Thank you, Will Dogs Droid, Lisa St. Louis, John Oliver, Mason Todd, J.K. Lloyd. I know what we're gonna have to do shortly. I can see it's coming. Tate No says, I don't even know what to think anymore. Jordan Hart, are you trying it out? Thank you. J38 John, Mommy Penguin, Jersey, Texas, Camus, Raul, Jackie Morgan, Polly, Noonie Business, Ezzy's Acres, Jordan Hart being the December. What I'm going to do in a second, we're going to stay live here. We've been on the air now today for 8.5 hours, and I have not eaten a thing. Not a bite. This is going to be a problem. So what I'm going to do is take 5 minutes and put some food in the air fryer. That's what I'm going to do, and then come back. And then eventually I'll eat my food. But for right now, I'm going to take 5 minutes. That's all I'm going to take right now is 5 minutes. Put the food in the air fryer. I got to. It gets to the point where, Evergreen Intel, who posted about the tankers last night, says that there are 5 additional tankers lifting and heading for the east routes. We talked about that before. All right, so that's what we're going to do right now is I'm going to take 5 minutes, and put food in the air fryer. I'm not eating yet. The food's not cooked. But we'll keep doing coverage. Steve will be back in 5 minutes. I'll take my contacts out too. I'll keep an eye on things too. I got to take my headphones out too, my earbuds. We'll pause for a second when my earbuds come out. Let's give it a second here. Give it a moment. Give it a moment. There could still be a missile strike tonight or something, too. Don't forget about that. Am I even hearing audio out of here? Oh, here we go. All right, I'll be 5 minutes. I'm coming back.
صديقي العزيز يعني الإيرانيين رح يفهموا ما
And
Oh. We have sirens, ladies and gentlemen. Widespread alert across multiple cities. We have sirens. Hold on.
Hold on. Sorry. Everything's falling apart. I leave for 5 seconds and this is what happens. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. Hang on. Hang on. Yes, missile alert, missile alert, missiles incoming, missiles. IDF, hold on, Iranian. Hang on, I gotta get the other shot from the other Tel Aviv shot. I want the other Tel Aviv shot. The other Tel Aviv shot.
I don't see anything right now. We have sirens going off in Tel Aviv.
Guys, I'm giving you the best streams I have. I don't have a Haifa shot. If I have a stream and it's good, I'll give it to you, okay? I'm not hiding stuff from you.
I'm looking at a Haifa cam. I don't see anything if we go back. It looked like nothing. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I didn't see anything.
To Israel from Iran. Missiles incoming. Missiles incoming. I don't see the the specific alerts yet, but IDF says the missiles are incoming. There have been several small missile attacks so far today by Iran. No big ones since we've been on the air. Yeah, if it's Haifa, guys, I can't do anything if it's Haifa. I can't magically create a Haifa stream that I have access to. If it happens there and we don't see it, well, I'll do my best to get you footage after. Yes, so the Israeli Defense Forces just posted, and it looks like a lot of the sirens are around the Haifa area. And again, I'm sorry if stuff happens there and I don't have a stream I can show you, but I can only use the streams I have access to. So I apologize. I don't know if they cut the Haifa feeds, because I'm looking at AP and AP doesn't have a Haifa feed either. So I don't know if after last night there was some sort of cutting of the Haifa feeds. But again, I can only use the stuff that I have the rights to use. I can't steal somebody else's feed. Normally, before the missiles are seen or come, normally before they arrive, you get the alerts on the Red Alert app, and I haven't seen any of those alerts pop up yet.
Yep. Getting reports that Haifa, northern Israel, received about a dozen or so ballistic missiles. I'm trying to look for updates here. Oh, hold on. I just saw something. I'm seeing a report of maybe one missile or something. One news. Let me see what's here. I'm seeing multiple reports of one missile intercepted. A couple of the accounts I follow on social media
that are usually pretty reliable are saying 1 missile intercepted.
Just a single missile.
Oh, MDA just posted. MDA, which is the emergency medical service there, they say following the alarms that were heard in the north of the country, no calls have been received regarding either falls or injuries. So now they haven't said they have not said leave your shelters yet, but it looks like this might have been just like a small, again, several accounts I follow are saying 1 missile intercepted. Now, ill red alert says 3 to 5 were launched. They heard. Not hearing of any impacts or any injuries. Home Front Command says the event has ended. Those staying in the protected area can leave. The event has ended. Those staying in the protected area can leave. That's it for this rocket. That's it for this missile alert. Missile alert over. Missile alert over. I gotta try to eat now. Now I'm gonna try to put my food in the air fryer, which is what I was trying to do before.
Alright, and while he does that, I'm still getting constant updates from Twitter over the... Sorry, I was just trying to load a thing here. It was not working. Over the Iran-Israel situation, constant updates. Still have the live multicam up. And also had an update here saying potential emergency alert, but we'll wait and see. About 10 were fired in the latest barrage. Israel expects more later. So we shall see what happens, I guess.
G7 early. And
okay, no, my apologies. We played that earlier. Go back to the cam.
Defend Israel from drone and missile strikes launched by Iran. The two sides trading more attacks overnight as that conflict continues to escalate. Jennifer Griffin, live from the Pentagon, brings us up to speed from her post now. And Jennifer, hello.
Hi, Bill. The Israelis, using American-made F-35 stealth fighter jets, did in less than 4 days something that the Russian Air Force has been incapable of doing in Ukraine for 3.5 years. It established air superiority. That means Israeli non-stealth F-15 and F-16 fighter jets can now carry out airstrikes and hunt down the mobile ballistic missile launchers that are terrorizing Israeli cities. Two U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyers, the USS Sullivans and USS Arleigh Burke in the eastern Mediterranean, have been shooting down Iranian missiles aimed at Israel. The Navy has ordered the USS Thomas Hudner for backup, along with a fourth Navy destroyer. And we have now learned the aircraft carrier strike group, the USS Nimitz, on its final sea voyage will deploy from the Pacific. Deeply symbolic, since it was the Nimitz deployed in 1980 and its helicopters that were part of the failed U.S. effort to rescue the American hostages held at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. The U.S. has been in a shadow war against Iran ever since. Israel may not be able to reach the parts of Iran's nuclear program that are buried inside mountains and underground without U.S. help. U.S. B-2 bombers are the only air asset that can drop the 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator. Only the U.S. has them. When pressed on whether Trump had denied any military requests like the 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs delivered by those B-2 bombers needed to hit Iran's deeply buried nuclear sites, Netanyahu deflected, saying it was President Trump's decision. Quote, "I trust his judgment completely." That from Bret Baier's exclusive interview with the Israeli Prime Minister yesterday. Bill?
Thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer Griffin, the Pentagon, thank you. Dana?
And for more on all of this, we do have that special report anchor, Bret Baier, with us. And Bret, just as we were talking in the last few minutes, there is a new exclusive report from the Wall Street Journal that says this: a battered Iran signals it wants to de-escalate hostilities with Israel and negotiate as long as the United States stays out of the fight. This is just developing now. Let's get your take on it, since you are quite up to speed.
Yeah, good morning, Bill and Dana. I asked Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday about the Iran foreign minister talking to reporters, saying if Israel stops attacking, we will stop counterattacking and get to the table, suggesting that they were coming to the table. This is what the Iran foreign minister said, with a deal that possibly America would see as acceptable. The Prime Minister said that is essentially BS. He said that's just not true. It's a bunch of hogwash, in his words, that when they were coming to the table, he cited the Supreme Leader saying death to America, death to Israel, as that was happening. So I think there's a lot of skepticism about this outreach.
Okay, guys, we have some crazy news coming out here. Hold on. From the U.S. Forces Korea, all installations across U.S. Indo-Pacific Command Area of Responsibility have raised their force protection condition level from Alpha to Bravo as a precautionary measure. This means that there is going to be increased security, just overall, in the Indo-Pacific Command Area. So, this is just coming out now. Just coming out now.
That said, President Trump has said he does want to get back to the table if they're serious about agreeing to dismantlement.
Yeah, a couple things here. It struck me what General Keane was arguing a moment ago when I asked specifically about that. The president of Israel, Herzog, was with Dana and me about half an hour ago. Fordow is apparently the most fortified nuclear site in the entire country of Iran. So far as we can tell, it's hard to reach. Half a mile buried beneath rock inside of a mountain. Here is President Herzog on the question of going nuclear in real time. Watch. Can they fuel a bomb amidst this war on day 4 already?
As far as I know, I don't think it's feasible. I think that would be a very dangerous development. We are trying with all our might and capabilities and our heroic fighters and pilots to make sure that they don't get there, but rather that we delay, postpone, undermine their capability of getting to the bomb.
I don't want to get too far ahead of this, but Keene's argument is the United States has to use bunker buster bombs now to take out this facility. Otherwise, the Arab region looks at you and says, what was this war all about? In a year or two, you get to fortify that center yet again. Did Netanyahu go there with you?
I went many times to try to get that answer. I have heard privately that the ask has happened, but not the response. I don't know what the response is. Prime Minister Netanyahu wouldn't get that specific. It is true that the B-2 bomber is the only thing that can carry the 30,000-pound MOP, the massive ordnance penetrator, the bunker buster that can get into the half-mile deep mountain lair, if you will, of Fordow. And then Isfahan is another facility that's buried deeply and where enriched uranium is stored. So the Iranians have a couple of facilities that only U.S. technology could get to, and the real question is whether President Trump will decide that that's worth it now.
And I guess we are waiting to figure that one out because everywhere is on high alert right now.
United States on the trajectory they were on. I don't know exactly how we're going to close those uranium enrichment sites, but I know they're going to have to be closed one way or the other, and anything less would be a disappointing and inconclusive outcome to this
my
campaign.
understanding is that two of them are pretty much taken out. I'm sure there's probably got to be work to be done to contain maybe some fallout in terms of radiation. They do have the one facility, 3 miles underground, that would probably need either bunker buster bombs or B, a tactical nuke to take it out. I would not put it past the Israelis to do that. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I certainly don't think they would want to, and I wouldn't think that's their plan A, B, or C. I would also say, though, that the United States was not aware of Israel seeding beepers and radios into Lebanese Hezbollah's leadership and killing many of them last year, or the drone operations that Mossad launched from inside of Iran. So if the Ayatollahs think that Israel doesn't have any more tricks up its sleeve or any more cards to play when it comes to these deep underground sites, I think they might want to think again, given the ingenuity, bravery, and audacity we've seen from the Israeli Defense Forces and Mossad over the last few months.
Well, there are other options, too. As of now, the Israelis have not taken out their power grid, which would be very easy to do. They own the skies. They've not taken out their ability to make money, their refineries. That could obviously be leverage or not. We have about 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. Any of those key infrastructure, but Israel doesn't want to do that. Israel wants to eliminate their nuclear weapons program. And
all right, there you have it, guys. We are looking back over the skyline of Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and a few other different cities within Israel, and then a shot of Tehran, the capital of Iran. We're going to be listening for sirens.
Hang on. For those who are unaware, I have not eaten on the stream yet, so I am making food, and in a short while the food will be done, and if I can sneak out, I will leave the streams up.
All right, so it looks like we're getting alerts that the northern part of Israel has calmed down. Everything has sort of relaxed briefly here. I got a couple videos we can go over. Let's take a look here.
Talking to the press at the G7, and we are monitoring that for any big news. In the meantime, let's go to Mike Tobin. He can give us a quick catch-up from Tel Aviv. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Dana. Iran is now interested in de-escalation and a return to the negotiating table with the condition that the U.S. stays out of the fight. The U.S., for its part, is now sending the USS Nimitz carrier strike group to the region ahead of schedule. There was a strike during a live broadcast of Iranian state TV, and what I can show you now is video of the aftermath of the state TV building in Tehran on fire. Israel, for its part, did send a warning into the area, warning people to evacuate ahead of that strike. State TV is now back on the air broadcasting from a backup location. Israel's prime minister says Israeli jets can now do whatever they want in the skies over Tehran.
The Israeli Air Force controls the skies over Tehran. This changes the entire campaign. We are on the way to achieving our two goals: eliminating the nuclear threat and eliminating the missile threat.
We have new video out of Iranian F-14s on the ground being taken out by Israeli airstrikes. Iran purchased those F-14s before the Islamic Revolution in 1979. We also have satellite images of missile production and nuclear facilities before and after Israeli airstrikes. Israel says 1/3 of Iran's missile launchers have now been destroyed. We keep getting warnings out of Iranian state TV and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that drone strikes and missile strikes are inbound to Israel, but thus far they haven't materialized. It doesn't mean they won't, but we usually get credible warnings from Israel's Home Front Command, and we haven't had that yet this evening. Dana?
All right, Mike Tobin, thank you. Stay safe. And we will continue on with this. The big headline today is Iran ready to wave the white flag and cry uncle. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Iran is seeking talks with the U.S. and Israel to end the hostilities. President Trump out with world leaders at the G7 in Canada and once again imploring Iran to make a deal before it's too late.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah, they'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
Jesse, President Trump has been consistent for 10 years that Iran should not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, and letting Israel do what it thinks it needs to do to protect itself.
Right. So we're pretty involved already. We greenlit the operation, obviously. We're intercepting all the missiles that Iran's sending over, and we have shared intelligence and are doing refueling flights. The question is, how much more involved are we going to get? And so a few scenarios. One, if the Iranians attack U.S. assets, we'll have to get involved. The question is whether we're going to give or use bunker-busting bombs to completely eliminate the Iranian nuclear program, or if we'll authorize regime change strikes against the leadership. And I think the balance that Trump's trying to strike is you can't allow the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon. It's been almost 100 years of U.S. policy, non-proliferation. You can't get blackmailed by rogue states. But also, you can't have regime change wars, and those have unintended consequences. So if you were to have a decapitation strike against the Iranian leadership, what comes next? Because it's a theocracy, and you have 30,000 radical Muslim clerics that are still there. You can't kill all of them. So does it break down into militia factions where they all just kill each other? Do we install somebody? Do people come from all over the region with guns? Is there an insurgency? No one knows. And so the Israelis have their own agenda. They want this guy gone. Now, does that agenda jive with our agenda? Maybe not, because they're not going to be the ones to manage the chaos. We're going to have to manage the chaos, and they know that, and that's fine. But we've already overthrown an Iranian leader before. We installed the Shah, and he was a great ally for many years, and he pumped oil, and he was fantastic. against the Soviets, but he was so unpopular, he was overthrown by these even more fundamental radical people who we're still dealing with today. The big question is the Iranian nuke deal still possible? And the Israelis say no. They call them fake talks. They think they're going nowhere, and we're getting strung along. Donald Trump disagrees. He thinks there can be a deal that is put together. And at this point, the Iranians have no leverage. And so it looks like they're kind of begging to come back to the negotiating table. And Donald Trump isn't ready to do the deal yet. I think he's going to let the Israeli military continue to soften up Iranian targets as they finally limp back to the negotiation table and swear off enrichment. And that would be a great outcome if they swear off enrichment. But I don't know if that's even possible because the Iranians saw what happened to Gaddafi. Remember, after Saddam was toppled, Gaddafi was like, all right, we'll get rid of the nukes. And the next thing you know, Hillary and the Europeans came in and took him out. So very delicate situation. The next couple of days will be pretty serious.
And the IAEA, which I guess it's basically the international organization that checks on nuclear enrichment, just last week, they said that Iran is in total non-compliance, Harold. And at the same time, the Israelis said, we underestimated our enemy on October 7th, and we can't afford to do it again because they're closer than ever to a nuclear weapon. So now the stage is set. In the meantime, though, we still have, Israel has 53 hostages still in Gaza.
So good to be back around the table. Hope everyone had a productive and happy Father's Day weekend. Jesse, you framed it fairly well. I think the only thing I would add to what you eloquently said is two things. First, we're going to be confronted as a nation very soon with whether or not we should provide the wherewithal and the resources. We're the ones with the munition and that bunker-busting bomb that you talked about that would be used to blow up a half a mile under earth there, the mountain that we've identified, that the Israelis have identified. I'm a believer that we should, if the Israelis believe that's what's needed to put an end to this. I listened to Mr. Netanyahu, who I'm not always a fan of, but I listened to him on Sunday and had a chance to react to him on Brett Baer's show. Brett did a really good interview. I thought Mr. Netanyahu was convincing. He made 2 points there. He said, first, the slumber of democracy. He invoked Churchill talking about when democracies get lazy, they get content. This is when these kind of evil things happen. We have a moment here to stop this. He also spoke to the Iranian people and spoke to the Persian people and said, look, the Israelis and the Persian people have had a great relationship over many centuries. There's no reason going forward, if we get past this ugly and unfortunate chapter, that we can't do the same going forward. Now, I understand, Dana, some of the concerns that Democrat and Republican politicians, including some supporters of President Trump, have about broadening this war, because the real risk here is the escalation of the war. Jack Keane said something I thought very, very telling over the weekend as well, and even repeated on our network today. He said that the Army, Navy, and Air Force of the Iranians have been diminished and weakened, and that the leadership of their Army, Navy, and Air Force are diminished and poor as well. And if we're thinking about the moment in a way to put an end to this might be the moment to do it. I remember when there were those who were saying we should have supplied more support and more resources for the Ukrainians against the Russians. President Trump often says that had he been president, that never would have happened. Russia would have never invaded Ukraine. And I assume he meant that he would have provided more resources and tools for the Ukrainians. I think we're at that moment now, Dana, with this Iranian-Israeli conflict. I don't want a broadening of the conflict. I don't want an escalation. I think the president of Turkey and others are right. We're on a precipice. But what I don't want to have happen going forward is this risk and threat that the Iranians pose. And what you led into this question about, they have lied about their preparation and their ability to develop and detonate a nuclear weapon. Mm-hmm. I don't want that. And even if the IAEA is wrong, I'm willing to take the risk. If we have this moment now, we should destroy this capability of the Iranians.
Kennedy, I feel like President Trump doesn't get credit for something else. It's a key part of the story, but it's a smaller part of the story. And it's that, first of all, Israel did degrade the capabilities of Hezbollah and Hamas. And then you have President Trump in the Middle East just 2 weeks ago, making friends, making allies, and recognizing the new Syrian government. To the point that yesterday, when this started 4 days ago, Lebanon said, we're staying out of it. And then Syria yesterday, you can use our airspace. And if you just hold that thought, because we have a new sound from President Trump, he was just asked about the possibility of regime change in Iran, and we can listen to that, and then we'll come back around to Kennedy.
Regime change in Iran
I want to see no nuclear weapon in Iran, and we're well on our way to making sure that happens.
And a short comment, Kenny, I wasn't sure how long that would be. Your thoughts?
Yes, I think he shares that sentiment with the entire Western world. No one wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon because, you know, this is not the era of détente, of mutually assured destruction, where, you know, there were countries stockpiling nuclear weapons for defensive reasons. Iran has talked about going on the offense, and part of the existence of this regime is the desire to annihilate Israel, you know, which is right next door. Think about it. What if Canada what if the reason for being for Canada was to destroy and obliterate the United States? I was recently on a Holocaust tour in Poland, and we visited the extermination camps. And, you know, that took years for Nazi Germany to exterminate 6 million Jews and 3 million Catholic Poles. Iran wants to do what Hitler started with one bomb, and that's the fear. So Israel has started this, and now what the United States has to ask itself, are we going to be the ones who finish it? Because it will, if you're talking about the main enriching site for uranium, the Fordel site, that will take the kind of bunker buster that Israel does not have. I spoke to a former Navy SEAL senior chief, and he said, yes, Israel does have bunker busting bombs, but not the massive type where it'll take a pair with a B-2 bomber in order to completely obliterate that facility. That is a possibility if the United States wants to get involved. Iran does not want the U.S. to get involved because they know it is not only the end of their nuclear program, but also their petroleum program as well. So what does Iran have left? What they're clinging on to now is the desperate hope they will, with some of their other Middle East partners, be able to move forward capitalistic in a way that takes them out of petroleum, but into the economic future. They can't do that as an authoritarian, theocratic regime relying solely on oil.
All right, and there you have that. We also had this update about 2 hours ago from Reuters and CTV News. Chinese embassy in Israel urges citizens to leave. So, on top of everything happening right now, China, Russia, and the United States all urging people to evacuate either Israel or Tehran. We are currently looking at the skyline of Tel Aviv. Okay, so it looks like we have an update from Fox News here. Iranian strikes on Israel escalate, taking out at least 24 and damaging U.S. Embassy branch in Tel Aviv. U.S. Embassy branch has been damaged. That cannot be a good thing, especially if people were in the building.
According to Reuters, Idris Ali, Ambry says it's aware of an incident 22 nautical miles east of Khor Fakkan in United Arab Emirates. So I want to show you, I've seen some people online like Faytux News and others post about FIRMS data, which is satellite fire detection data, NASA FIRMS data. Okay, so the idea is maybe Iran is attacking shipping as a way of getting back at the Israel and the U.S. and so forth. Maybe they're trying to block the Persian Gulf or something. So let me just show you what we're talking about, though. If it'll actually work. Okay, so here it is. Here's the NASA FIRMS map. You got to zoom in here. And then there's Iran right here. There's Iran right here. And I think we need to go to 24 hours. I don't know which ones I'm zooming in here. So I don't know which of these. The red markers in theory would be fires, but there's several of them that are being reported as the ones. So I don't know which ones are which. There's more than 3 things there. But the idea is that some of these might be actually ships on fire. Let me show you on a map where we're talking about. So we're talking about this. Here's Iran. There's Iran right there. We're talking about, there is the Gulf of Oman. There is the Persian Gulf. And here is the Strait of Hormuz. Actually, I might have gone too far over. So Gulf of Oman, Persian Gulf, and Strait of Hormuz. Now, I got to look up, I'm just showing you this. I don't know which ones people are talking about, but the point is, I believe from online what I'm seeing is some people are seeing the satellite fire detection and saying, hey, that looks like ships are on fire. Now, the one incident that Ambry talked about, that Ambry talked about, they said that was 22 miles east of Khor Fakkan. So let's see where that would be. So Khor Fakkan would be. So 22 miles east of Khor Fakkan would be right around where my pointer is. So if we go to the firm's map, we can see here, right there, that's it. That's the one. So that there would be, in theory, that could be a ship on fire, and that's the incident that they are talking about. That would be one ship. Now maybe there's three, although I'm seeing a bunch of red in the Persian Gulf, but not the Gulf of Oman. So I don't know if this is true. I've said it's unconfirmed. I said online it's unconfirmed. I said to you guys it's unconfirmed. It's being discussed. One thing I'll say is it would make a lot of things make sense, but this is unconfirmed. So let me check some things here and see what I can find out. But Ambry does say it is aware of an incident at 22 miles east of the UAE in the Gulf of Oman. Okay? So oh, and Faytuck says the fires were first detected 3 to 6 hours ago, according to firm's data. But again, I don't know. This could all turn out to be, it could be false. There could be no ships on fire. So we'll have to see. I just want to be clear. Every time I've brought this up, I've said this is totally unconfirmed. I just want you to let you know this is something being discussed. And it does have the advantage of making things make sense. Look, what was so urgent that Trump had to leave the G7 and he couldn't stay till tomorrow? That's been bothering me. It hasn't made sense. So I'm going to try to find out more for you. If this is true, it'll be known. It's not going to be long before we know if this is true or not. But again, UK maritime. Now, interestingly, a couple of Iranian state media accounts are posting the report that Ambry says, we're aware of, Ambry Maritime Intelligence Firm says we received a report of an incident 22 nautical miles east of Khor Fakkan in the UAE. So, in the Gulf of Oman. I just saw 2 Iranian state media accounts post that. Also, Iranian state media is posting the unconfirmed story about three ships on fire. Okay, that's interesting to me. Iranian state media Fars is posting the story. Make of this what you will. Iranian state media is now running with the story of the 3 ships on fire.
Okay, so the ships on fire in the Gulf of Oman. We cannot confirm it, but I do see it's a photo here of something on fire. Yeah, that's too weird to confirm if that is exactly what it is, but there's apparently 3 ships on fire. They have photos, but I can't confirm if it is what they are saying it is. I can't. There's no way to.
Of Tehran. Again, Al Jazeera says 3 explosions heard in the western area of Tehran. We have been hearing explosion in Tehran reports off and on over the last few days, so I wouldn't read too much into this at this point, although who knows. GMI Global Military Info, who I follow, at global_mil_info, says that the ship could be Adeline. I'll have to pull up marine traffic and take a look at marine traffic. There's too much going on. The background to all this is that President Trump, earlier today, suddenly posted on X that Tehran should evacuate immediately, and then about a half hour later we found out he's suddenly leaving the G7 summit early to go back to the White House to deal with Middle East stuff. We hear that he is wanting his National Security team to be there in the Situation Room when he gets back. So it all sounds like very strange, and we're seeing a lot of these cryptic posts by members of Congress suggesting like something could be coming, but it's been confusing. So now we're hearing these unconfirmed reports of ships on fire off the in the waters off of Iran. These very strategic waters where a lot of the world's oil passes through. The Strait of Hormuz controls whatever comes out of the Persian Gulf. So is this something where Trump heard today that there were a bunch of ships on fire and that Iran was attacking shipping? Don't know. Hang on a second here. I'm going to pull up marine traffic just to do it. They are hold on a second, I'll mention this. I'm going to sneeze in a second. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's all falling apart. Let's see here. Marine traffic is a ship tracking and maritime analytics provider. So we can go to marine traffic and look up the ships in the area. Am I signed into marine traffic? Let's see. No, I got to sign in. Let's sign in for the fun of it. Okay, here we go. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Map. Marine traffic. Okay, so let's go. There's Iran. Oops, we zoomed in too much. There is Iran here. There's the Gulf of Oman. There is the Persian Gulf. There's the Strait of Hormuz. And what are we? The Adeline, I think we're looking for. There's Khor Fakkan. I'm going to have to look it up. Some sites like Global Military Info were saying the Adeline? Adeline, crude oil tanker. View on live map. Okay, Adeline right there, crude oil tanker. Can we do this again? It says stopped, and it's stopped. It is stopped, and it's right there. Is that the ship in question? I don't know. Oh, let's use our distance finder. Is it 22 miles east of whatever it is? Of Khor Fakkan? Where's distance? I know there's a distance thing here. Where is it? Filters, map type, vessels. Oh, how about if I do this? Right click. Distance from here. Well, it's about, that ship is about, it says like 24 nautical miles, so I could buy it. That could be the ship. Anyways.
So that could be the potential ship that people are reporting right now to be on fire. I, once again, can't confirm that, but based on that right there, the ship has stopped. It is roughly the 22 to 24 mile range away, so that very well could have been the ship once again. We are still looking at the skylines here, but we have a video to go into.
Also tonight, thus far, Israel's air campaign, it has been a massive success. According to multiple reports, the mullahs of Iran are now begging for new negotiations. One report, not confirmed, has a supreme leader negotiating asylum, possibly with Putin and Russia. Almost all of their top military commanders, they are now dead. Their top nuclear scientists, they're also dead. Their ability to fire ballistic missiles, as you just heard from Trey Yangst, that is diminishing by the hour. Their weaponry slowly being depleted and degraded. Their nuclear aspirations, they are quickly coming to an end, which is good for mankind. As President Trump has emphasized over and over and over again, and he tried hard. He fought hard for peace. Iran cannot, in the end, have a nuclear weapon, period, end of sentence. Take a look.
You want to see regime change in Iran? I want to see no nuclear weapon in Iran, and we're well on our way to making sure that happens.
Now, that would be the Trump doctrine. I fully, completely support this doctrine. As the president wrote on Truth Social, America first means many great things, including the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. The president also made one other point very clear. If we are attacked in any way, shape, or form by Iran, the full strength and might of the U.S. Armed Forces will come down on you at levels never seen before. In the meantime, it appears that Israel's air campaign, now with full air superiority, they own the Iranian skies, achieved in just 4 days, will only be ramping up at this point. They own the skies. They have all the leverage. But let's be clear. This conflict, any conflict, is not without risk. It is not without hardship. It is not without suffering. Also, part of the Trump doctrine is no more forever wars. I fully agree with that also. With Israel owning the air over the entire country of Iran, the country now is suspect. They're going to lose their nuclear program. That is pretty abundantly clear tonight. But they could also lose their electric grid, which is gas-driven. That could be taken out just as quickly. All their refineries, which is their entire economy, can also be taken out. And without a protracted war or boots on the ground, doesn't make it risk-free. Everything has risk. However, the president is correct. The greater risk would be to do nothing. In the face of a clear and present danger, the world cannot experience another Holocaust. Iran has proven over and over again, convert or die, death to Israel, death to America. And as the president repeats over and over again, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just noticed how Israel hits military targets. And look at what the Iranians are doing. They're terrorizing heavy populated civilian areas like Tel Aviv. Imagine the region with a nuclear-armed Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, pledging to wipe Israel and the U.S. off the map, fighting proxy war after proxy war after proxy war. I brought this up last week. Ask yourself how many rockets, if they were fired into our country by the #1 sponsor of terror, and they were threatening to wipe us off the map, how many rockets would it take before every American demanded a military response from their government? Israel now for decades has been the target of tens, not hundreds of thousands of rocket attacks. Now the ballistic missiles, they're getting more powerful than ever. 2,000 pounds, and the Iranians, according to reports, they want 4,000-pound ballistic missiles. That can cause a lot of damage in a city like Tel Aviv. I've been there. What would you want a U.S. president to do? And that is exactly what Israel is facing. Iran wanted to wipe the world's only Jewish state off the map, and with each passing day, the Islamic Republic was getting closer and closer to achieving that goal. During both the Obama and Biden years, Iran was able to do pretty much whatever they wanted. I blame both of them for enriching the uraniums. I blame both of them, especially Biden, turning a blind eye to the sanctions that were bankrupting them that Donald Trump had put in place. They stockpiled thousands of ballistic missiles. They were able to use that money to foment terror all over the region and build out their nuclear program and enrich uranium at a far more rapid pace. They're armed. They have armed their proxies to the teeth, all while declaring, what they want, what their stated goal is. And while Israel has neutralized Iran's top proxies, the nuclear program, the country's missile production capabilities, they were picking up speed. In about a month, a nuclear holocaust would have been a real possibility. That is not a risk that any country should ever have to face. Unfortunately, the so-called party of compassion doesn't seem to care. In fact, the base of the Democratic Party, others with extreme views, they seem perfectly okay with the virulent anti-Semitism in the halls of Congress, on college campuses, and worldwide. And, from the river to the sea, how often have we heard that? Or at best, they wouldn't mind if it did happen. In fact, tonight, left-wing protesters in New York City openly supporting Iran. Take a look.
Do you condone or condemn the missiles on Israel?
Condone! Condone! Israel! Israel about terrorist apartheid regime. Israel, the U.S. empire. It's a colonial project. It's a racist piece of state. Fake.
Covering their faces, this woman didn't even know what to say until this fucking lunatic started speaking. Unreal. Unreal, ladies and gentlemen. We are looking over a very real shot of Israel and Iran.
No, and it's an oil tanker. Does that have something to do with this whole thing? I have no idea. I haven't been looking at it. Maybe it said not under command yesterday. I do not know. From what I understand, not under command means unable to maneuver as required by maritime regulations, often due to an exceptional circumstance. But it could be a mechanical breakdown. I don't know. So. Oh, I also found out a bunch of you were asking for the Haifa camera, which I normally would have. I talked to Reuters about it, and Reuters said they are not allowed to show the Haifa camera. There was a rocket that hit Haifa yesterday, an oil refinery, and there was a whole thing because I guess the government, it took like 12 hours for the government to approve reporting on the exact location, I believe it was, and there was, I believe, a one or more foreign outlets that had cameras that were shooting it, and there was this big to-do about it that Israelis found out after international viewers. So my guess is it's something to do with that. But I talked to Reuters, and they said, nope, we don't have the Haifa cam today. We're not allowed to show it. And I didn't notice the Haifa cam on a couple of other news agencies that I think normally might have it. So I have a feeling that that a bunch of the usual sources of the Haifa Cam don't have it. And again, I can't just steal everything off the internet. I can only show you what I have the rights to. But I did check for it. Oh, one of our viewers said maybe that was why the Tel Aviv cam was pointed up. That's an interesting point, that they don't want to show the buildings. It's an interesting question. They've been, the last couple days, IDF has been very emphatic about it. Yesterday, I remember, like right after missiles hit, right after, there was an IDF post which said, do not reveal the locations. Like it was like right after. So that they're really emphasizing that now. Because they say it helps Tehran, Iran target. QXR says they adjusted every cam I've been watching.
All right, so that's some pretty big news right there. I can't deny that. The fact that they are forcing them to change their cameras completely.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war. And they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
That was President Trump at the G7 today, confirming Iran does want to talk. Israel now has controls of the skies over eastern Iran, including Tehran, western Tehran, Iran. This is a game changer. Israel has eliminated both the nuclear threat and the missile threat out of Iran. Stocks rallied, oil prices dropped. Markets are shrugging this off. Joining us now, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations. He's Danny Danone. Ambassador, thanks for coming on. Is Israel pushing for a regime change in Iran?
Thank you for having me, Liz. We have a very clear goals in this operation. We want to stop the nuclear race of Iran. We want to stop the ballistic missile infrastructure. And also we want to make sure that there is no threat for the destruction of Israel. We pray for a regime change. You know, we know that the Iranians are suffering under the regime. We hope that one day they will have a better future. But we are focused now on the military targets. But it's up to the Iranian people to decide what's good for them. And I know that they are suffering. You know, leave aside what we think, but look at the economy of Iran. You know, the poverty in Iran. They suffer in the winter when it's too cold. In the summer, it's too hot. And I wish that they would have a different regime there.
Are you seeing it from the streets of Iran right now that that they're forming protests to possibly overthrow the regime?
Well, it's hard to tell. You know, we get a lot of videos and messages of encouragement. You know, today in the UN, in the General Assembly, I spoke in Farsi to the Persian people, telling them that we love them, we pray for them, and we are not fighting them. and I got a lot of feedback back from hundreds of people. So yes, we know that they want to see a change, but to tell you that they actually went to the streets, I think it's too early.
Too early. Okay, President Trump, he will not sign the G7 joint statement to call for Israel and Iran to de-escalate. Veteran lawmakers are saying if there's a truce, that would leave Iran's theocratic dictators in place and the mullahs in charge. That would guarantee even more terrorism, possibly a future war, nuclear one. Now we've got the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier strike group on its way to the Middle East to join the USS Carl Vinson carrier strike group. Reportedly, over 24 U.S. Air Force refueling tankers from across the U.S. appeared on flight tracking software headed over to the Middle East, heading over the Atlantic. So it sounds like, and it seems like the U.S. is surging military assets there. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, that will be a U.S. decision what to do, but I can tell you one thing. We have to be very skeptical about the Iranians. They are masters of deception. For decades, they played with the entire international community. And even now, when they're saying, yes, maybe, they are saying in Farsi that don't look at the hands, look at the legs of somebody who is like you're dealing with. So we shouldn't listen to them. We should look at the actions of the regime.
Moderating. Thank you so much, Robert McQueen. RJ.
From head to toe. Certainly state lawmakers have zero power over federal law enforcement, but the fact that this bill is even debatable is regrettable. It's every bit as sad as the legacy media refusing to call a riot a riot. The Media Research Center says from June 7 to 11, anchors, reporters, and guests on CNN and MSNBC described riots as peaceful. 211 times. Isn't one lie enough? Did they need 210 more to emphasize their disdain for law enforcement? Only to be out-hated by the LA Times, where this weekend a headline read, quote, LAPD issues dispersal order. Downtown, fires tear gas and rubber bullets. Apparently there wasn't ample ink to mention that rubber bullets were in response to rioters tossing rocks, bottles, and fireworks, injuring at least 10 officers. Common sense thinks it's one thing to start defunding police, it's another to stop defending police.
That is very true. Very, very true. They did become quite aggressive. And time again, the mainstream media said, no, it's very peaceful. Said it was peaceful while cars were literally burning. And protesters, aka rioters, were throwing pieces of concrete onto cruisers.
about that.
Early to consider a ceasefire proposal between Iran and Israel. There is indeed an offer to meet and exchange. An offer was made especially to get a ceasefire and then to kickstart broader discussions. That's what French President Macron claims. It doesn't seem to really match a lot of the rhetoric we've been hearing, but who knows? I think I just keep coming back to Trump left the G7 thing a day early. He didn't have to leave it. Something urgent is up that made him leave. Oh, by the way, the pool report is Trump is rolling to the airport. Trump is from the White House pool, it seems to suggest that Trump is heading to the airport. Well, wait a second. That's old. Because what? No, that's an old report. I'm sorry. Because that's from 8:15 Pacific time. The time in Calgary is 9:17. That seems like it just came, but it was an old report. So I think it's a delayed report. He might have taken off already. I don't know. Is he in the air? Is Air Force One in the air? Are people tracking Air Force One? No, but Calgary isn't Pacific time. Calgary is Mountain time. Calgary time
Israel
is
and Iran are back.
9:18. But maybe the hour was mislabeled on the report. Maybe the person mislabeled it as Pacific time. I'm not really going to worry about it right now. Dan Shapiro, who is a former U.S. ambassador to Israel, just posted, he thinks that Trump is assembling the forces necessary to do the Fordo strike.
Benjamin Netanyahu,
that would be a strike
this is his
on
Churchill moment. And you wrote the following as part of that, quoting, "In some cases, de-escalation is a sign of wisdom and peace. In this case, it's a sign of weakness, smallness, and historical amnesia." Expand on that if you would for me, Julie.
Well, Trace, thanks for having me. Yes, I think there is almost no question amongst the intelligence communities that Iran is at 60% enrichment or greater. So the threat is very imminent, despite what your earlier guest said. And I think what Netanyahu is doing is showing he is a man of the moment, and he has come through at a time where he had a lot of naysayers and a lot of doubters. And I think the support within Israel is very strong. I also think this is a big moment for Donald Trump. This is a moment where I think he could be Nobel Peace Prize worthy. If Iran, in fact, gets a nuclear weapon, Trace, they are 10 minutes away from striking the United States with an ICBM. 10 minutes away. They would not only use that, they could not only use it to threaten the United States, they could use a nuclear weapon to take over the Middle East. They could take over the oil fields, the shipping lanes. They could use it to threaten to exterminate Israel. They probably would use it because they've said, they've come through on their threats of going after Israel many times. There's no reason to think they wouldn't use a nuclear weapon against Israel. If that happens, then think about the cascading effect. Saudi Arabia would have to get a nuclear weapon. Then what comes next? Turkey, then Japan, then Taiwan, then Ukraine. The world would be a very, very different place. If these two men, President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, stand up, if they are big in the moment, if they face the threat, if they say no to the naysayers, if they come through and show they are worthy of the moment, which I think Donald Trump will, then I think this is probably the biggest advance for peace and stability that we've seen in our lifetimes, and I think this would be worthy of a Nobel Prize.
You saying, I've got about a minute left for you, Julian, but you think escalation is certainly on the table?
Oh, I think escalation is more than likely. And let me just say, I think people are misreading history here with straw man arguments about Afghanistan and Iraq. We are not looking at a situation where U.S. troops are going to go on the ground in Iran. We are looking at a strike primarily for Fordo, which is a strike that could take as little as an hour or two. This is a pinprick operation. It's not a major operation. In the same way a lot of people said when President Trump went after Soleimani on January 3rd in 2020 that there would be retaliation, Iran did nothing. I think Iran is a paper tiger. I don't think they would respond and hit American interests. If they did, they would be hit with overwhelming force. So I think Trump has all of the cards, and I think he has signaled he is that big man of the moment, and he will come through, and we will see a denuked Iran. It'll be a blessing for world peace, and I think you will also see Donald Trump's base enlarging as a result of this. You will see Jewish voters flock to him and centrist Democrats who said that he came through. He wasn't played as a fool the way Biden and Obama were. So this is a big, big moment.
Yeah. Julian Epstein, great to have you on the show as always. Thank you, sir.
Trace,
Coming
thank
up,
you.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu telling our own Brett Baer that Iran sees President Trump as enemy number one. And brand new video tonight of Iran.
All right, there you have it. We're gonna go back to Agenda Free TV, one of the best channels on YouTube for instant news.
Craziness. Craziness. Everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Is he going to meet with them? I mean, the reporting said that Trump wanted the National Security Council to be at the Situation Room when he comes back. He's probably getting back at like 4 in the morning. I do wonder why. I just saw a G7's. I saw a reported statement from the G7 saying that our position is clear: Iran cannot possess a nuclear weapon. And Trump was saying that over and over again. Is it possible that they think they're like more advanced in it than we've been led on to believe? I don't know. People keep saying this. Mackheit says perhaps Mossad has shared some evidence. Next Bike thinks Iran's wanting a ceasefire would explain their lack of activity tonight. Crazy news. It is 11:27 now.